She grabbed a single dad's hand. Pretend you're my husband for 40 minutes. Daniel Carter had exactly 3 minutes before boarding his flight to Chicago when someone suddenly grabbed his hand. He turned, startled. A beautiful young woman with nervous blue eyes looked straight at him, her grip surprisingly firm. "Please," she whispered, barely able to breathe. "Pretend you're my husband, just for 40 minutes. Daniel blinked. "What?" "I know this sounds insane," she said quickly, "but if you let go of my hand right now, my ex-fiancé's family will force me into something I don't want. Please. I'll explain later." Before Daniel could answer, an older man in an expensive gray suit approached them with 2 stern-looking women behind him. "There you are, Emily," the man said coldly. His eyes shifted toward Daniel. "And this is?" Emily squeezed Daniel's hand even tighter. "My husband," she answered without hesitation. Daniel stared at her for half a second. Then he noticed something. Emily wasn't acting. She was terrified. As a single father raising 8-year-old Lily alone, Daniel had learned to recognize real fear. His late wife used to say that kindness sometimes required courage before understanding. So he made a decision. He slipped his arm gently around Emily's shoulders. "I'm Daniel," he said calmly. "We were just about to head to our gate." The older man's smile disappeared. "Husband," he repeated. "Emily, don't play childish games." "It's not a game," Emily replied. "We got married quietly last month." The 2 women exchanged shocked glances. Daniel could almost hear Emily's heartbeat through her trembling shoulders. The older man stepped closer. "If that's true," he said, "why has no one in the family heard about him?" Daniel smiled naturally. "We wanted privacy." The answer came so smoothly that even Daniel surprised himself. The man narrowed his eyes. "What do you do for a living?" "I'm an elementary school history teacher." "And where do you live?" "Denver." Every answer came effortlessly because they were true. Emily looked at him with grateful eyes. The older man folded his arms. "My son has invested years into Emily's future. There are business arrangements involved." Daniel finally understood. This wasn't about love. It was about money. Emily wasn't escaping heartbreak. She was escaping a contract disguised as marriage. Daniel spoke quietly. "People aren't investments." Silence spread between them. The older man's expression hardened. "You have no idea what you're interfering with." "Maybe not," Daniel replied. "But I know nobody should be pressured into marriage." For the first time, Emily stood a little taller. The older man glanced at his watch. "You'll regret this." Without another word, he turned and walked away. The 2 women followed him. Only after they disappeared into the crowd did Emily finally let go of Daniel's hand. She covered her face. "Oh my goodness. I can't believe that worked." Daniel laughed softly. "I can't believe I agreed." She looked embarrassed. "I'm so sorry. I saw your daughter talking to you earlier while you were on video call. The way you spoke to her. I knew you were a kind person." Daniel smiled. "Lily has good timing, apparently." Emily finally relaxed enough to smile. "My flight doesn't leave for another hour. Can I at least buy you coffee to apologize?" Daniel checked his boarding pass. "My flight's delayed 45 minutes. "Perfect." They found a quiet cafe overlooking the runway. Over coffee, Emily explained everything. Her late grandfather had owned a successful logistics company. After his death, business partners wanted her to marry their son to keep control of the company. She refused. Since then, they had followed her everywhere, hoping to pressure her into changing her mind. "They don't care about me," Emily admitted. "Only the company." Daniel listened without interrupting. When she finished, he simply said, "Then don't let them decide your future." Emily smiled sadly. Easy to say. "I became a widower at 32, Daniel replied. Nothing about starting over was easy. She looked at him with quiet respect. "You still smile." "I smile because my daughter needs hope more than she needs perfection." Emily stared out the airport window. "I forgot what hope felt like." A boarding announcement echoed through the terminal. Daniel stood. "Looks like that's me." Emily quickly reached into her purse. "This is my business card." Daniel accepted it. "If you ever need anything, or if your daughter ever visits Seattle, I'd love to return today's kindness somehow." Daniel slipped the card into his wallet. "I didn't help because I expected anything." "I know." She smiled. "That's exactly why I'll never forget you." They walked together toward the security checkpoint. Just before Daniel disappeared into the line, Emily called out, "Daniel." He turned. "Thank you, for being the husband I needed for 40 minutes. Daniel grinned. "And thank you for reminding me that sometimes the strangest moments become the ones worth remembering." As he walked toward his gate, his phone buzzed. A message from Lily appeared. "Love you, Dad. Bring me airport chocolate." Daniel laughed. Life had given him heartbreak, responsibility, and unexpected adventures. Today, it had also given him proof that sometimes a simple act of kindness could change a stranger's life forever, and perhaps, just perhaps, open the door to a story that neither of them expected to begin in an airport terminal. Daniel expected never to see Emily again. 3 weeks passed, and life returned to its familiar rhythm. Every morning he packed Lily's lunch, taught history to energetic fifth graders, helped with homework in the evenings, and quietly missed the woman who had changed an ordinary airport delay into an unforgettable memory. Then, one rainy Tuesday afternoon, his phone rang. The caller ID displayed an unfamiliar Seattle number. "Hello? Daniel, it's Emily." He instantly recognized her voice. She sounded calmer than before, yet there was still a trace of anxiety hidden beneath every word. "I hope I'm not bothering you." "Not at all." She hesitated. "I actually need another favor." Daniel smiled. "Hopefully one that doesn't involve another fake marriage." Emily laughed for the first time since he had met her. "No. Although this one might be even stranger." She explained that her grandfather's company was preparing for an important board meeting. The investors who had tried forcing her into marriage were spreading rumors that she was emotionally unstable and incapable of leading the company. "They're trying to vote me out," she admitted. "So fight back." "I intend to." "But?" "They're also saying I invented a fake husband because I couldn't face reality." Daniel sighed. "I had a feeling this wasn't over." Emily continued carefully. "I don't need you to lie. I just need someone willing to tell the truth, that we met, that you helped me voluntarily, and that nobody paid you." Daniel thought for a moment. "When?" "This Friday." He looked toward Lily, who was coloring pictures at the kitchen table. "Dad?" She looked up. "Everything okay?" Daniel covered the phone. "Remember the lady from the airport? The pretty one?" He laughed. "Yes. She needs help again?" He nodded. Lily smiled without hesitation. "Mom always said good people don't disappear after doing one good thing." Those words settled the decision. Daniel returned to the phone. "I'll be there." Friday arrived. Seattle's skyline shimmered beneath gray clouds as Daniel entered the headquarters of Carter Logistics. The building looked more like a luxury hotel than a corporate office. Emily greeted him in the lobby. She looked completely different. Instead of frightened eyes, she wore a tailored navy business suit and carried herself with quiet confidence. "You came." "I said I would." She smiled warmly. I've forgotten what it feels like to trust people. Before Daniel could answer, Lily stepped forward holding a small paper bag. I brought cookies. Emily blinked. For me? Lily nodded proudly. Dad says cookies make stressful days better. Emily knelt and accepted the bag as if it were priceless. Thank you. For a brief moment, the pressure disappeared from her face. The boardroom was filled with executives, lawyers, and investors. The same older businessman Daniel had confronted at the airport sat across the table. His expression darkened immediately. So the actor returned. Daniel remained calm. I'm a teacher. And a convincing liar. Emily stood. No. She faced every board member. The only lie told here was that I could be controlled. She invited Daniel to explain exactly what had happened at the airport. Without exaggeration, he described everything, from Emily's desperate request to the intimidation by her former fiancé's family. Nothing more. Nothing less. When he finished, silence filled the room. One elderly board member adjusted his glasses. So this man gained nothing? Daniel smiled. I gained free airport coffee. A few people laughed. The tension finally broke. Then Lily quietly raised her hand from the visitors' seats. Everyone turned. My teacher says bullies stop when people stop being scared. The room became completely still. The innocent words carried more weight than any lawyer's speech. Several board members exchanged thoughtful glances. Within an hour, the vote was complete. Emily remained CEO. The investors who had attempted to manipulate her were removed from all leadership positions pending an ethics investigation. As everyone left the room, Emily stood beside the giant windows overlooking Seattle. I spent months believing I had to fight alone. Daniel looked at Lily, who was happily eating the last cookie. You never have to fight alone if you let good people stand beside you. Emily smiled through tears. No pretending this time. Daniel shook his head. No pretending. For the first time since losing his wife, Daniel realized his heart wasn't opening because someone needed rescuing. It was opening because he had found someone strong enough to stand on her own, and kind enough to remember the stranger who had once held her hand for just 40 minutes. 6 months passed. Seattle slowly became a familiar destination for Daniel and Lily. What had started with a fake marriage at an airport had quietly grown into genuine friendship. Emily never tried to replace Lily's mother. She simply became someone who showed up. She attended Lily's school art exhibition. She sent birthday cards every year. She even learned how to braid Lily's hair after watching online tutorials, although the first few attempts looked hilariously uneven. One Saturday afternoon, Daniel watched them laughing together in the backyard while planting flowers. For the first time since his wife had passed away, the silence inside his heart no longer felt empty. It felt peaceful. Then his phone rang. Emily's voice sounded unusually serious. Daniel, can you come to my office? Is everything okay? I hope so. When Daniel arrived, Emily handed him an envelope. What is this? My grandfather's final letter. She explained that the family's attorney had recently discovered a sealed document hidden inside her grandfather's private safe. The letter contained one final condition for inheriting his personal estate. Daniel unfolded the paper. His eyes slowly widened. The letter read, If my granddaughter ever finds someone who protects her when there is nothing to gain, I ask her to trust that person more than she trusts money. Daniel looked up. Emily's eyes were already filled with tears. He wrote this years before he died. Daniel smiled softly. He sounds like a wise man. He was. Emily laughed through her tears. I spent years searching for powerful people. She looked directly at Daniel. My grandfather was searching for a good one. That evening, Emily invited Daniel and Lily to dinner at her grandfather's old lakeside home. The house overlooked calm water painted orange by the setting sun. After dinner, Lily wandered toward the dock, skipping little stones across the lake. Emily and Daniel sat quietly on the wooden porch. No board meetings. No lawyers. No pretending. Daniel nodded. It feels nice. Emily looked at him for a long moment. Can I finally ask you something honestly? You can ask anything. She smiled nervously. Back at the airport, if I hadn't grabbed your hand, do you think we ever would have met? Daniel laughed. Probably not. So maybe fate has unusual timing. Or delayed flights. They both laughed. Then Emily reached into her purse. Daniel raised an eyebrow. Another business card? She shook her head. Inside was the old boarding pass she had carried the day they met. I've kept this ever since. She placed it in Daniel's hand. It reminds me of the day a complete stranger chose kindness over convenience. Daniel looked at the faded ticket. It reminds me that courage sometimes comes disguised as panic. Emily took a slow breath. This time I don't need you to pretend. Daniel's heartbeat quickened. I don't want a fake husband for 40 minutes. She stepped closer. I'd like to see if you'd consider becoming my partner for the rest of our lives. For a second, neither of them spoke. Then another voice interrupted. Dad. Lily had quietly walked back from the dock. She looked between them with a huge grin. I've been waiting forever for someone to ask that. Daniel laughed. You knew? Lily folded her AR.